call the meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Landmarks and Historic Districts Board for its annual celebration of the vernal equinox on March 19, 2024. We have present Landmarks and Historic District Board members Stephanie Green, Bill Hine, Barbara Roberts, Jeff Givens, Susan Clark, Tim Ganettis, and Vicki Kahn, and myself, Ed Wisnowski. And on Zoom, I'm not sure if she is present at the moment, but at the moment absent is Martha Green. This meeting is being conducted under town and New York state law that provides for in-person and remote participation. Individuals may undertake participation by clicking on the Zoom link to be found on the published agenda of the Landmarks Board and on the Town Clerk's portal. For those who just wish to view, one may do so by clicking the live button at the top of the Town Clerk's meeting portal. For remote comment and in-person comment, individuals will be asked to provide their name and their hamlet or village of residence at the time they make comments. They may make comments remotely by raising your hand or providing information in the chat so that the moderator, Kevin of CTV, may provide access to you. To reduce wait times for online and in-person participants, our practice is to advance such items on our meeting agenda for those who may be present or online. With that, I think we can proceed to the business of our meeting. The first item on the agenda would be the approval of the minutes that have been distributed by Stephanie. And were there some tweaks to be made?
There were some revisions that were made based on comments from Susan.
Just a couple clarifications.
And I think you
okay.
also
And it
chimed
could
in on
have
one.
been my presentation that needed the clarification, but it's correct in the minutes now.
Okay.
Right, and the minutes were revised and recirculated.
Right. So with that,
Motion to approve.
there is a motion from Vicki to approve, seconded by Susan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, and the minutes are approved.
And Ed, Martha has joined us. We should say she's present.
Oh.
Ah,
Yay.
greetings, Martha. You are now present. Thank you, Martha.
So sorry.
Right. Okay, so we will proceed with the agenda items of interest to those who are here. The first one that we have is 361 Mitchell Lane, which is an application for demolition. And for that, let me just provide, if you want a chance to speak, let me set things up and before you speak, and allow me to provide some background for individuals here. This is an old farm based house that once had a lot more buildings on it than it does have now. The farm basically was for many years farmed by a farmer named Charles Rayner, and that basically his farm operation probably ended when he died in 1940 or so. His widow lived on the farm there for a number of years as well. The house and the buildings, just to provide some reference for you here. Let me go to what's there on the property at the moment is the house and two outbuildings. This is one of the outbuildings that are located in fairly rundown condition. These are pictures of the house as it exists now. The front porch is propped up with a kind of a post of wood. I don't think it's locust wood, but because they're rotting at the base on the porch elements there. As you can see, the windows in the house and doors have been redone. They're not authentic in any way. The trees and foliage, some are marked obviously for clearance when a demolition might take place. The porch you can see here is actually not well supported at the moment either. The foundation looks like about 1910 type of construction material. The back porch is covered by juniper of large character. This is the second, this interior of the second outbuilding that was there. Not quite sure what the purpose of that bench or staging was with the stairs there inside this building. It has a concrete floor. This is, again, plant life that has gone uncared for a while and is obscuring the building there. You can see this juniper, which is basically about ready to take over the back of the house. The juniper is in the best shape. The house is in the worst shape there. Again, this is to the south, looking on the south side through the driveway between the two buildings there. Stairway to the back porch. This is what was a rear entrance to the house as well. So that's the four sides of the house. This is the interior of the first outbuilding that I showed you in the pictures. That's the front side of it as well. It too had a concrete floor there. The farmer bought this house in 1907 from another local farmer named Nathaniel Hand. The Hands, actually Mitchell's Lane at one time was called Hand's Lane, and Nathaniel Hand farmed on the east side. His father, Orlando Hand, farmed on the west side with big tracts of farmland. And we actually reviewed Orlando's Hand house across the street about 4 years ago for remodeling. They preserved the house and did some interior work on the house that kept it as at least a remnant of a once famous Bridgehamptonite in the community. To just also provide, see if I can provide the reference here for this is the 1916 map, where you can see Charles Rayner, and this would have been the buildings that we're talking about today. So, in any case, would you like to provide some comments about?
You pretty much said what I wanted to say, you know, the history very well. My name is Mayron Talai. We're the architects for the current owner, 361 ML LLC. I personally looked at the house. I did not go inside the house or the garage, but in our opinion, my opinion, there's no, first of all, both structures or three structures need major structural remedies. They need to be fixed, and they're not worth fixing. We concluded that there's no architectural significance to any of these buildings, so they could be easily demolished. If not, they're not demolished now. Eventually, they're going to be torn down by nature. They're in bad shape.
Mm.
And I have a letter supporting that.
Just to let me also try to bring up one other element here that has maybe some significance eventually for for us. This is the property in 1984. If I go back to 1976, you can see that there are more buildings on the property. 1984, we see some building going on. A subdivision took place in 1976, and eventually some of the subdivided lots were sold. But this property has a barn on it. And the barn was moved from 361. And I did, the reason I call attention to it, I've had two conversations with a nonprofit that is interested in seeing it preserved at some point. Whether it happens or not is another question, but they have an interest in seeing that it remains as a remnant rather than disappear with McMansion-style building. There has been a lot of building going on Mitchell Lane of rather large houses, and that does offend certain sensibilities in the community. So, but in any case,
That's it, sir. Like the gentleman said, in my opinion, we only looked at it for structural, for architectural value, and we found nothing. So we're requesting a permission from the board to award us a demolition permit.
and
I wanted to mention, I did find it, the AKRF in the list in back. It's on page 18T94. However, the comment was that they couldn't assess it because it wasn't visible. So there was no, they couldn't say one way or the other what their opinion was of it.
I mean, my recommendation would be not to object to the application and respond to the building department with that. Is that acceptable?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's it.
I'd like to still submit this letter if possible to the board.
Thank you.
Very fussy about these things. So basically that, we looked at it, no architectural value, whatever.
Okay, well, we'll attach it to the record.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So we make a decision tonight, or are we?
That's the decision, and you're done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have,
Thank you.
right?
Thank you.
Right, good
Thank
night.
you.
3058 Noyak Road. So, let me bring that up. This house has a, this is a map. Let's see, what date of this map? I'm not quite sure, but this house sits close by Trout Pond on Noyak Road, as you can see here. And the records in the town indicate that it was built in 1927, which fits because, in looking at the 1930 Suffolk County aerial series, you see the house present there, so that makes sense. I took some pictures of the house. The house had the house sits on Noyak Road in a rather dangerous place, by the way. You take your life in your hands trying to get out of the driveway of that property because you cannot, you're blinded from seeing oncoming cars. And it's certainly not a place I would like to myself to have a residence. Let's see where we go here. Okay, so this house had a stop work order on it from October. It's being renovated. The letter refers to it as a restoration, the letter describing the work, but it really is a renovation. And a lot of the, what happened to my pictures here? This is the house. It has a enclosed porch. On the one side, they are installing a large picture window. They're insulated windows that are taking place. This is an entry on the side of the building. It's a very narrow, this is the east facade of the building, very narrow piece of property, 65 feet wide. So it doesn't meet any of the requirements for setbacks, certainly. I don't have any issues with what's being done. The house doesn't have any great architectural distinction to it. No sense of any history associated with a person or any kind of events associated with the development of the Noyak community or communities in Noyak over the period of the 120 years that that has been taking place. So, my sense is that, the fact that the work was done without a permit is one of those problems that we were gossiping about before the meeting. And, other than that, I don't see any reason to object to, the construction taking place here. The kind of construction is a matter of taste more than anything else. I'm not sure I like big picture windows in certain places, but there was a big window originally there that had multi-lighted structure to it as well previously. I don't have any comments for that.
Okay.
Well, with that, I'll send a response back to the building department. We have no objection to the work that is proposed and is being done, other than that it was being done without a permit. Sammy?
Hi. Shall I go to the?
Yeah, that would help. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Matthias Tauner. I'm the architect for this project. And I just want to clarify a couple of things which also irk me. The homeowner started to renovate the building without a permit. And then all of a sudden, when it was shut down, that homeowner became my client. They found me, they interviewed me, hired me, and said, can you fix it? So, and I told them that I can, and so we had to, retroactive create previous plans and drawings, and then we created a plan set which shows the intent of the renovation or alteration of the building. The intent of the renovation of the building is to keep it intact as much as possible, because I like the building. It has, if I take it a little stretch, it is actually, to me, it has kind of a Scandinavian influence, which I personally like. And so, and the owner is also very much on board to, we're not changing any window sizes. We kept all the sizes as they are. We're not coming up with any materials which are not consistent with the material language within the neighborhood. And I think at the end of the day, it will be a very appealing building. We're not changing any footprint, and it is a pre-existing non-conforming, which is a totally different story, and it's very complicated to do things in that building, but we are now at a position that we can actually start, when we have your approval, we can start finally to do the real work and do it right. So I just wanted to clarify, because I was very offended when they started to do it and without a permit. So I just wanted to make that clear.
I'm glad you spoke about it.
I told the client, you can't do that. So that's all I have to say.
We need more people like that.
Yes,
Thank you.
Right, thanks.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
thank you.
Okay. So we can take up sign business.
Sign?
For 2331 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton.
Thank you.
Right, good night.
Right.
And we received this referral from the ZBA for, or, is it a referral or not?
really a referral.
Okay.
It's a request by the applicant for determination from the land use.
Okay, well,
Although there is a COA application.
has one been filed, or?
Certainly not one.
I
That
haven't
was
seen it.
for 2385, that you're talking about, that,
Yeah, we didn't get one, then why?
no, there's no COA, has not been applied for it.
I don't believe so, but. they-
ZBA.
Applicant may have done it on its own. This was a referral from the zoning board of appeals. It's
not
really a referral. Well, I was at the hearing and the zoning board said we're gonna refer it to the landmarks. Katie says it's not a referral. She said that the zoning board asked you to come to the landmarks board.
No. Anyway,
Well,
it's-
I don't understand. That's a referral, and it's very definition. The zoning board asked me to come here, here I am.
right,
Talk to Katie about it, I don't understand the semantics either, but she said it's not a referral. I would say that we have to come back for a certificate of appropriateness, but I think that the board tonight is should comment on the variance request that the wishes to do so.
yes, there was some variant about the height of the sign and some other requests that were associated with it.
There's a request for variance pending in front of the zoning board.
This is in the Bridgehampton Historic District, a new office building. And let's see if we have, the sign, it's actually kind of two signs, a V sign, so that it has two faces to it in two directions that's being proposed. And these design elements were forwarded to you in the application or the materials that were uploaded to the landmarks portal. Yeah, here's the memo that says, at the request of the applicant, please review the materials here, so using that language, providing any recommendations. Some of the features of the sign, they're asking for a variance of height from, I think, there's a limit of 6 foot, but when elevated 7 foot, and that's because there is a kind of like a swale or a depression off of the Main Street Montauk Highway down to the grade level of the building, so that the sign would look more, it would be blocked in some ways with that elevation. I took some pictures here. Let me see if I can find them again. Okay. Actually, I took these pictures after last February's meeting at night after we got through with our meeting. This is a sign that is located in the building next door to its west. It's a house that has an antique store in it. And if you remember that there is another aspect to this. Yeah.
That's not the lot that we're talking about.
No, I know that. I'm going through the sequence of the lots. So this is next to, it's 2 lots down. This is the lot next going east on Montauk Highway. This is the south side of the highway. This is somewhat like the sign that, or the style of the sign has some backlighting for the letters.
Can I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
answer from here, or do you want me to?
Yeah, you can.
Good evening, I'm David Gilmore, and I'm from the law firm Greenberg Traurig, which benefits from that sign. So we're obviously the neighbor, and we represent the property next door. And the sign that you see there for my firm is exactly what the Farrell sign will look like, except it'll say Farrell, and it'll be blue. The Farrell sign had been at that location. We rented the building when Farrell moved next door, and so it'll be the exact same sign that had been there, which I have photographs of.
So this is the building in which the sign would be installed in front of. So this would be a third sign.
Yes, I was gonna say, are any of those signs coming down?
Yeah, one is proposed to be removed.
Which one?
I believe the one that faces west, the higher one.
The higher one.
Yeah.
So it basically would be, this is kind of looking at the front of the building. So you have the facade with the Farrell sign on it facing out, and then you would have this V-shaped sign with Farrell offices showing east and west in front of the building.
Right.
And did you say you had pictures of?
I do.
Yeah.
Will you share?
And then I have one picture of those.
No, no problem.
This was what our submission to the zoning board of appeals was. You can see the first picture is of the Farrell sign at our building. Right, so this was replaced by the Greenberg Traurig sign. The second sign, second photograph shows the Greenberg Traurig sign, which you've now seen in all of its glory. The next picture, you're facing east on the sidewalk, looking into the area where the sign's gonna be located, and I did that for the zoning board to demonstrate, the area where it's gonna go and the challenges. One of which is the fence, the other of which Mr. Wisnowski described as a depression. So it goes down. I have a picture further on that shows the height. This is a picture a little bit further east, unobstructed, of the area it's going into. And again, another one a little bit further east of that. And these all show that we need a little bit of extra height, but there's no impact to anyone, which is one of the things that the zoning board looks at. This shot is looking out from the area where the sign's gonna be, and you can see that it's about a 3-foot retaining wall on top of which there's a fence. So that's the height and location of what we were looking at. I then took photographs of all the signs on Montauk Highway, and went through the area. So this is the property directly to our west. Then here you see the Saunders sign, which is both sides. There's a construction company sign, and then the sign at the church. My favorite one was the one that's set in the town right-of-way here, which welcomes you to historic Bridgehampton. Some of the things, we're talking about setbacks of the sign with the zoning board, so that was pretty appropriate to show that there's one in the town right-of-way to show that we're consistent. The next one's the Bridgehampton Inn, and again, I'm taking these from the sidewalk, so they are all really close, and if you're familiar with that area, the signs are almost on the road. This Build Lab sign is huge,
Yeah.
and it is almost on the street. The Newman Village sign is set back somewhat more, and then you have the Queen of the Most Holy Rosary sign, which is, pretty and appropriate. Bridgehampton Museum sign, and then sign in front of the Bridgehampton Community House, which, if you're familiar, that has got to be 2 or 3 feet off the sidewalk, I think still in the town right-of-way, and it contains advertising. There's another sign, I don't know if there's a permit for it, and prefer not to comment on that, but that's also on the Bridgehampton Community Center. So we appeared in front of the zoning board, presented this and our arguments, and they said it's in the historic district, we should come here and talk to you. I understand we have to come back for a certificate of appropriateness, so, I think, subject to David and Ed, that you would just comment on whether you think it's appropriate for a variance to be given in this particular case. I think I think we demonstrate that, at least for the setback, that we meet the character of the area. There's far more signs, far more forward, and I think we've provided to the zoning board that there are compelling reasons why we need it. Signs are safety devices that announce property and a business, so you know when to make the turn. In this particular case, the planning board, during the site plan process, did not allow that property to have access from Montauk Highway. So both the Greenberg Trorig and the Farrell Building take access from one spot, which is a little bit west of the Greenberg sign. So it's and the parking is I don't want to say shared, because there's a lease that identifies our spots, but there is a shared parking lot that the Farrell employees come through. But it was I believe, a well thought out placement of it, because it sort of bookends the Greenberg Trorig sign. Tried to get some distance from it, so you're not seeing a whole bunch of signs as you pull down the street. I also provided you with a photograph. I think Ed had done one as well, that shows the backlighting of the sign, of our sign, which is what the one that Farrell will look like. It was taken at dusk before the zoning board meeting, and it's tasteful, and it just highlights the name on the sign. There was no problem when we did it with the original Farrell sign. The original Farrell sign also got relief from the zoning board for the things that we're asking for now for the current Farrell sign.
Got a couple of questions.
Sure.
So one of the variances that is being asked for is to allow the sign to be a total of 45.8 square feet, or a maximum of 32 square feet is permitted. How is that area measured? Does that include also the base of the sign, or does that just include the sign?
I think it just includes
itself?
the signage, but
'Cause that's a 43% increase that you're asking for in the size of the sign relative to what's permitted.
right.
That seems like a lot.
Well, I would say, it's hard to be in front of this board and argue the zoning case, which is what I appear to be here for. I understand that there's a certificate of appropriateness that we have to come get, which I would have thought came later in the process.
Right.
But here we are. What I would say to you is when you bring up two parts of the variance test. New York State has a balancing test, which benefit to the applicant against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community. Within that, they provide 5 prongs. Your question involves 2 of them. First of all, is the character of the neighborhood. I provided you with the pictures, and that's why I did it to the zoning board, which shows you the character of the neighborhood, which is huge signs, not far set back, right? And I think we far exceed that. The other part is substantiality, right? And when the zoning board considers substantiality, they have to do that within the context of the circumstances, right? Which I think also leads us back to, one, is that it's within the character of the community, right? There are large signs there, so why should this property not get a large sign when others have them? The second thing that I think we look at is the physical setup of the property. So as you can see that this sign is set back 16 and a half feet, and it's got, some fence or railing issues, right? You have to, with the size of the retaining wall, you had to put a fence there because somebody could fall over it. So between those two things, we needed something that would more capture, a driver's attention and for safety. And frankly, this sign exists, right? I think it's being housed somewhere. So, there is some benefit to us that we don't have to go out and do a new sign. But it is the sign that's been at the Farrell building since that building was built and CO.
Okay.
So, in the pictures, do we know if the signs that you've shown, if they have a certificate of compliance, or were they given any variances?
I didn't look at that. It's contrary to my nature to get other people in trouble, right? So I knew I'd be asked that question, and I wanted to have this answer handy that, I don't want to be that person. That's fair.
Do we have any idea at what time of the night the illumination will be turned off?
I believe they turn off at 11 automatically. And I think that's a code requirement.
In that area.
Or it actually may be sooner. I may have said 11, it was a mistake, and it was 10. But I can inform you.
Excuse me, sir, so the existing sign, it was illuminated?
Yes,
And so how many illuminated signs are going to be on this building?
there will be one on the building, and then, there'll be a freestanding sign and one on the building.
Yeah.
Does
I
the application
that's-
include removal of that
Yes.
existing sign?
I'm not understanding maybe the purpose of the illumination if it's not used at night. I mean, most people, I have not driven through Bridgehampton in the after dark for a while, so I'll leave that to be addressed by, the Bridgehampton group. But, I mean, when I go to Bridgehampton, I know where I'm going. And at nighttime, would anybody be accessing? I think the building's closed at that time, so I don't understand.
At what time?
After dark.
Well, it depends when dark descends on us, right? We just had the change in clocks, but at
Right.
4 o'clock it gets dark.
Right.
Most of those signs that were mentioned aren't illuminated. And there isn't an entrance where you're thinking of putting the sign. But you said that it was a matter of safety. But if there's no entrance, wouldn't that be quite the opposite?
Well, no, it would highlight the fact that that's where the building is, and then they'd look for the entrance. I mean, I think it makes it more so that you need the sign, that people would see it.
I would have to study more, the town code even with, it appears to be a neon sign, and I know it's not, it's a backlit,
Neat.
but
And the backlighting is subtle.
for intention purposes, it appears.
The backlighting has existed on the Farrell sign. I think that building's been there. how long, 15 years?
So,
And then it exists on the Greenberg Trorig sign, and that has been there for 2 years.
do I understand you correctly in saying that this sign already exists? And-
Well,
Or you're making a bigger version of what existed?
no, so there are two buildings, we'll call them sister buildings, right? The one to the west was the original Farrell building,
Right,
right? That had the Farrell sign,
right.
right? Greenberg Trorig rented it, and Greenberg Trorig put its sign on it. Farrell moved next door
Yeah,
and needs to have a sign, wants to have a freestanding sign. The Greenberg Trorig sign is new, right? It's new in the fact that it's not Farrell, and it's physically new.
it also
And
doesn't look like it's shaped like the Farrell sign.
it's exactly the same,
It's shaped like a wedge?
yes, so you can see it from either side,
So
Okay.
was there a variance granted for
Yes.
that sign?
yes,
There was.
it was, yeah. And about the same distance back.
This picture was taken at 8:45 in the evening from the information associated with the image. So I don't know how long the lights stay on.
I think, didn't we say
They're
till
on
11?
till at least 10 o'clock, because I've
Mhm.
driven back
Thought
from
David said
Montauk
till
and
11.
seen them all on.
So this sign here no longer exists in any manner or form.
It exists now
It's
with
not
Greenberg Trorig
It's not
on it.
installed, but this is the sign that's gonna be
That's the one that will be
repurposed,
reinstalled.
yeah.
Was this one backlit,
Yes,
the original Farrell
exactly the
sign?
same. yeah.
It's in the book, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember it being backlit.
One of the things that would be of concern to me with a certificate of appropriateness is the increasing appearance of a commercial strip and feel for the main street of Bridgehampton. And signage and how the signs appear and their size, add to the idea that maybe they're not only identifying the place, but they're advertising for the parties that have the signs. And so size to me is important, as well as even how much they would be illuminated at night for a length of time, because I think it diminishes the historic character of the Bridgehampton hamlet down the road. But that's a discussion we can have for another time, but I just want to give you some of my
I would
thoughts.
respond in two ways. One, it is a commercial strip. Let there be no doubt, right? You saw all the signs. It is a commercial strip. And secondly, and I said this before, that there's a safety feature to this, to identify the business and its location. Well, I understand that.
I mean, I see the name Farrell 7,000
Yeah.
times a day. I don't.
Well, I don't have anything to do with the other
Yeah,
Farrell
I
signs.
know what
I'm
you're
here
saying,
on
but
this
it's
sign,
just like
but
safety.
but it's unfair to say that there are other signs that would impact this application, right? We're here for this and this only.
So how much different than this one is this new sign?
There's no difference.
No difference whatsoever?
No difference. It's the same sign.
Height and everything is the same?
Correct.
Why does it say something different on it then? It says Farrell Companies as opposed to Farrell Building.
I don't know, maybe they changed it, but I think it's physically the same sign. This is the one they gave me. I needed an example
Farrellville.
of what it looked like when it was on the Farrell site, the original Farrell site.
Right. It does
hard to-
appear that they're gonna be remaking it somehow because it's,
They could be remaking the front of it or the face of it.
Yeah.
But this is the one that they presented to me as the one that had existed there.
And then you said the background was black instead of blue.
No, it's blue.
Oh, it is blue.
Yeah. Yeah, the Greenberg Trorig sign, I think the back is black.
yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't have this, I guess it does have
Oh,
the trim on
okay.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right. And you want to remove that.
I guess my overall impression here, looking at all of these examples, most of these examples are signs that are, basically painted, they look like they're wood or something like that. And a number of them have a more historic appearance. Again, we're considering this from the standpoint of a recently established historic district. This kind of sign, its construction, its materials, its backlighting, is not, in my opinion, consistent with the historic appearance of this commercial area.
But I think, with all due respect, I understand,
Mhm.
but doesn't the sign have to match the building, which is a year old, 2 years old? It's really unfair. I'm trying to present an argument, and to have you roll your eyes at me is really unfair. I think I deserve more respect than that.
I think, sir, we are being respectful. We're simply asking questions.
I'm sorry, but another
I
member,
object to that.
another
I
member,
do.
not you, just rolled their eyes at me as I'm trying to present my case. And that's unfair.
If we just keep
So
on
with
going,
respect to the
can I say something?
questions of the variance, with respect to,
We have,
Martha, did you have something to?
Well, I wanted to pick up on Stephanie's point, because I think it's relevant. I know all of those signs, this is my town. And I don't find the blue color particularly historic or muted. I think it's far brighter. I remember the Farrell sign. It's not an argument to say that we see the name too often. That's not my business, but it doesn't have the character of the historic district. I can't tell the man to change his typeface. It's his logo. He's built it up over many years. But I think this whole thing of lighting the signs backlit is a very modern feel and not in keeping. And I know you're presenting an argument, but I don't personally agree with your argument. And I want to pay you the respect of having listened to it and know the town really well. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, again,
I would say before I could, before it comes up for a CO, I will make a point to be out at night, driving through East Hampton and through Sag Harbor to see what type of signs.
You wouldn't find a sign like that near Sag Harbor, even on the gateway coming into Sag
Because,
Harbor.
my impression the last time I did drive through Bridgehampton at night, it's just when the lights start you feel like you're going through a corridor, they start bouncing back and forth, and I find that distracting at best.
I
Yeah,
And
Jeff?
to add
wanted
to
to add
that,
a point. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe the village of Southampton does not allow backlit lighting
That's correct.
in their signs.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you, they're going for historic character too. But they're a
so right,
village.
so I would look at
versus a
the
town.
towns with the historic districts and.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, we can argue about, the subtlety of it. I don't have a picture of the Farrell sign. I can show you the subtlety. The Greenberg Trorig sign, that was taken mid-afternoon during the winter. You can see the snow on the ground from it. But, I see the sign all the time. It's a pretty subtle sign. And this, again, you're 16 and a half feet set back from the street, right? It's, I think, more so than any of the other signs that you see here, this is the most set back. The church is set back more, and I think Newman Village is set back more. Others are much further forward, and frankly, bigger.
I know in some historic districts, even black buildings are an issue, gold lettering's an issue, and I realize we're gonna need to formulate more that if gold is an issue, we've got a lot of gold there. That I
So-
would have to study more before I could
All right,
issue an
so,
opinion.
just with respect to the question of responding to the ZBA. We have no specific opinion on any of the questions except maybe the size of the sign.
Well, there's also, one of the variances that's being requested here is to allow the sign to be internally illuminated in a Hamlet office district, where internally illuminated signs are only allowed in the highway business zoning district. So the internal illumination is something that a variance is being requested for
Okay,
here.
so that would be
Absolutely.
also a question to raise as something of concern to us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, looking at the number of examples here in the booklet, it looks like two of the examples are backlit signs, somewhat similar to this, and then the other 11 examples are all painted signs.
Correct.
I can't really see if any of them have external illumination on them.
Floodlight.
Ground
floodlighting.
Yeah, I'm sure some of them do, but just, again, this seems to add, at least from what I see here, another internally illuminated sign in an area where those kinds of signs are not prevalent. And where, again, we have a recently established historic district.
Right.
I mean, just looking at the kinds of materials that the sign is made out of, it's metal, it's not, it's a more modern sign to my eyes than what I would expect in a historic district. So that's,
Well, I would just offer one comment that may shift, the idea a little bit, and that is you have modern architectural buildings that have been installed, probably regretfully for some of us, on the main street of Bridgehampton. And the compatibility or the connection of style and contemporaneous character, does have an argument, I think. there.
yeah, I would agree
So-
with that, yeah.
Yeah, but I am concerned about the illumination issue and the kind of size issue that's involved with the signage. And with respect to my opinion, as time goes on, we had a discussion about signage at our last meeting. And the question was whether or not Bridgehampton had sign malpractice as a way of life because of some of the things we were looking at there. So this is a point at which there'll be a number of crossing issues and feelings on things.
I mean, that's a fair statement. I was around when Dennis Suskind, who was the leader of the group that changed the signage and put in a full and robust sign law. So, I get it. I don't know how many of these pre-existed, and again, I don't want to be the person that turns somebody in for it. Another observation, and I'll have to take a look, but when I went through these pictures just quickly now, some of these are uplit, which is far less subtle than the backlit
Yeah.
that we're asking for, and I'll look at it, but, I think the idea is to prefer more, how do I say this?
Quiet.
Classy, view of it by backlighting it instead of uplighting it. Right, I think
Yeah.
that's,
Is it the Farrell blue?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's a Farrow blue. And it,
It's
obviously, I
not a
think,
historic color.
again, I mean, there's a Farrell sign on the building, both of them are legal. I believe this matches it. One of those will be removed as part of this process. I think there's a consistency that you need for a, I guess, a more classic look, I would say, to change it in some way, I think, ruins that consistency.
So I think at least we have the comment responds to the ZBA, and, then it's up to them to do what they want to do, and when you're ready
Right.
to apply for a certificate of appropriateness,
At the, I don't wanna misquote you, right? So I've gotta go to the zoning board Thursday night. I'm gonna say this board has an issue with the backlighting and the size of the sign. Right, those are the other.
I'll see if I can get the communication into
Okay.
the,
I just wanna be,
to,
I don't wanna misquote you in any way, right?
right,
So that's a fair outcome?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
All
Thank you.
right, well, thanks for the information, too.
Yep. Helpful.
Have we lost our
Um,
signal?
Pardon?
Says no signal up there.
Oh, that's
Oh,
because
that's you? Okay,
yeah, my
okay, that's you.
machine goes to sleep
Oh, okay. Thought we had
if it
lost
gets
that.
too bored with my conversations. Okay. That brings us back to the order of the agenda. 166 Sabonic Road, we have been there before for an earlier demolition of a house back in, I forget what the period of time was.
August 2023.
August,
It was
so
for the
last year.
accessory structure in
Right,
back,
yeah.
altered, modern looking.
So, this is it, it sits next to the golf course. And, the house itself is in great shape. But it's been remodeled, it's not, something of an original, character. Looks like it was remodeled and redone relatively recently, given the shingles, color. This is, the side of the house. This is one of the accessory buildings that would also be demolished, in the application. This is the rear of the house, the south-facing facade of the house, south-westerly facing facade. Has a cellar with the Bilko doors. Yeah. That's the yard and a swimming pool in back. Well-maintained fence. And a perspective from the corner and the rear entrance and a famous octagonal window. So that's the house that is there. Dating it is very difficult. I had this is 1916 map here, if I can get Tuckahoe. What you see right here is, this is Sabonic Road, and that house that we're talking about here is labeled M. Miller. Merritt Miller, who his wife was, I forget what his wife's name was, but she was reported as having twins in Tuckahoe in 1902. This house has an AYB in the assessor's information of 1900. Merritt Miller was originally a lifesaver in East Hampton before he moved to Tuckahoe, and I believe he worked on the golf links afterwards as they became established there. A gardener or involved with the care of the golf links, both there. The house is in good shape. You know, it's a shame to see
That's-
something like that. I think,
I guess that was what's striking to me. The one thing, it is on the AKRF list, that's the little one in the back. Not sure what it said, probably needs more.
research. yeah,
research.
Yeah.
But it's in such good condition, I'm not understanding, particularly when they were demoing in the back, the one accessory, and we had no objection, thinking that this was in good condition, it was going to be saved.
Well, this is the era of big houses.
Well,
You can even tell
I-
by the way the air conditioning unit looks brand new.
And why is it so far from the house?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Because they're already planning for the big mega house they're gonna put there. Because if you look at that lot, has the golf club on both sides of it.
Yes.
There's a piece of the golf club that comes in,
Where is the,
that,
oh,
there,
yeah.
see? The golf club is on both sides. Those woods belong to the golf club. So.
Yeah, this is golf club owned land, and I believe this was recently sold. Let me see if the information,
What's the size of the property again, approximately?
what's that?
Size of the piece of property?
The size is a half an acre, 0.6 of an acre.
Looks larger than that.
No, it doesn't show, it was sold, bought in 2022.
Yeah.
So,
That was just the starter house.
that's the progress. You know, I don't see any historic
Yeah.
significance to it, other than hopefully perhaps recommending that possibly the applicant seek to have the house moved elsewhere for,
Is that the one that there were some beams off the kitchen someplace showing?
I don't,
One of them was
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
in the
There's
application,
some
the
in the kitchen.
interior photos.
There's some in the ceiling of the kitchen. It could be fake. It looks small.
Let's see if I get the.
I mean, you know, for the whole thing to end up in a dumpster, couldn't they donate some of it to Habitat for Humanity, like the
Please.
windows and some of the piping and?
The whole house.
The whole
Yeah,
house
exactly.
or
Well, I
something,
mean, they,
Right.
they're
Cabinets.
not gonna be able to move it back to their. Unless they could find a place here.
Yes, there are beams on the, or exposed beams, but might be faux.
Could be. Would be good if they could adaptively reuse it since they're getting rid of all the accessory structures, but,
Mm.
I mean, on the property, first of all, of course.
Well, I'll say there's no objection, but perhaps some thought should be given to having the existing buildings
Reuse,
reused by moving or whatever else as a possibility.
For salvage
You know,
materials.
as long as there's no immediate pressure for timing new construction, you know, it might be an option for the individual.
It's a shame it couldn't be sort of adaptively reused and, or incorporated into a new design where you'd have something very new that would still, you know, leave this.
Yeah. Well, I suspect the interior is not historic in character
right.
either, so there's,
Right.
yeah, it's basically, you know, a fundamental problem here of having a good structure be demolished because it's too small for the market appetite for buildings here. That's one of the tragedies of this neighborhood we live in. So if there's, I will make a comment about attempted reuse, you know, either by sale or movement. Somebody may be.
It's an existing resource, and it just seems to throw it away when you, I mean, when you introduced it, you mentioned several times that how well kept it was.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was ever a building that begged to be reused somewhere or somehow, something that's that well kept.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's, you know, go to 361 Mitchell, you know, if it's deteriorated and hasn't been kept, I would have a very difficult time telling them they need to upgrade that and adaptively reuse it, but you take something that's so well taken care of, it's.
Yeah.
And when the town has so many programs now, trying to develop affordable housing.
Yeah, I mean, they
Right.
have this
This is
ADU
a
stuff
crime
that they're
to
doing.
not be able to reuse this.
Maybe
Additional
there's
dwelling unit?
the possibility of encouraging the Southampton Housing Authority to
Maybe we could make a
Refer to
referral to the
them.
housing authority.
yes, yeah,
It should become a new option.
take it,
Referral
take
to
a
the
look at
housing.
it.
Because this is structurally sound.
Department.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's certainly, you know, I think anyone would be happy to be able to move into that house.
The question is, you know, among other things,
You have to
moving
find
it
a site.
someplace,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes,
it's-
but there are funds, there
Yeah.
are funds available. If there are funds to develop new,
Yeah.
there are also funds to
Yeah.
relocate.
Okay, so we'll recommend something and
Maybe send a note to Karen
send-
back.
send a copy to the director of the Southampton Housing Authority.
It should be a standard practice with
I think
something
we
that's
should.
such a good resource.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
We should look at that.
like we talk about the throwaway culture we live in, and it's, there's a lot of people, yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, because I deal with real estate, and people want big, 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 but there's a lot of people who are be just as thrilled to live in that,
Yeah,
if they
maybe
could
we
live
should
here.
have A conference with Karen.
So, okay, well, we did 361 Mitchell Lane. We did 3058 Noyak Road, and Susan and Vicky looked at 142 Cobb Road.
Yes.
Not sure if the applicant is
we did.
still online at all or still online, and so I guess they should indicate that. If they want to participate, if not, they can listen. Vicki and I went for a site visit on March 8th, and we were met by Tim Greening from the architect's firm, and it was fortunately a nice day. We viewed only the exterior, but, you know, prior to that, I wanted to say, reading the application, it was a very well put together and informative application to start with a lot of detail and diagrams. And the Tim Greening, who met with us, seemed to have a really good understanding of the different aspects. They had foiled all of the prior permits, and he seemed to be very familiar with those. In fact, he had the subdivision map of the larger property before I did, and was aware that there was a 1945 house down around the corner. So that, having the application itself was very helpful when we arrived, I saw the exterior, and looking at that application, we can look, from there, the front volume, which is the west volume, appears to be the original. And, I mean, in form, it's on a brick foundation. The AYB is 1930, however, with the brick foundation, Vicki and I thought it was more the early, it was 1900s. The rear are all additions between around 2000, 2003, and that's where most of the new work is proposed for. But looking from the front, there's a small little section on the left, which is a one-story. There's a small porch there, and they're proposing to remove that porch and then put in windows so there'll be more natural light. And also on the front, changing the solid wood door to a wood door with glass windows so there'll be more light. But, and the vintage of the original door is unknown. We just looked at it through the storm door. But this house has been renovated a number of times, and to our knowledge, the 6/1 windows all match in the new section and the original section volume, that all the windows that you see on the front part are replacements. So, that being said, I'll go back to the history in just a minute. There, you can go up to that. And you can see in that 2002 tax photo that I included on the overview of construction, you can see it being built. So I love the ones when you can find that and see something in progress. So we had no objection to what we see being proposed, because the one thing is to remove that section, and they're going to enlarge it. There's going to be we can go to the application in a few minutes, a cross-gabled section. And then they had actually inquired the architect firm earlier about adding a one-story glass section to the rear. So if you would go to the application, I think you will, or you could scroll down through my overview also if you want. I guess it would be, you would find, you can scroll down through the overview. Okay, you're in the application. But they're going to add, and that's a one-story glass addition that will not be visible from Cobb Road. And right now it is heavily screened from Cobb Road, so it's really not entirely visible. And they're proposing to alter the driveway on the north and provide more screening on that side, so it'll be more screened from the northern property. It's listed in the AKRF table as needs further research because it couldn't be viewed from the road. So there's a picture, right.
But
It's
the proposed-
excellent, excellent application to show what that they're proposing. With the history, it goes back, it's a Burnett property, and Tim was aware of that. There was a K. Jones. We actually did the Jones property, 593 Flying Point. It's gone, and there's a larger house there, but the Jones family, a member of that family, actually provided the CO affidavit in 2000 and said that the family had lived there to about that time. And looking back at the maps, it belonged 1858 to the Stephen Burnett. It's the same family, but at Matthias, they split out. Luther D's are down there on the Flying Point area, and some of David's, but Stevens were up in this area of Cobb Road. And it would have gone to his son, Jalop, who went by J. Allen or Allen Burnett. So if you look at the 1873 through 1894 maps, we have J. Allen on it. And there was a family homestead there in 1858. Our feeling was that is not extant. Also in 1873, I need to add to my history that J. Allen built a boarding house that was 28 feet by 55 feet, and I assume that was 3 stories, which would have been quite large on this particular property. And my guess that was closer down to the junction with Cobb Road West, because this particular property had a little small subdivision for Allen's sister Elizabeth. And I think she either lived in the homestead or would have lived in the boarding house, because she was a school teacher in Watermill, West Hampton Beach, and Calverton. And the different articles said she either rented her apartment or she came home for the summer to her home in Watermill. But those, my guess, are not extant, but that's part of the history of this property. It would have been Stephen Allen's granddaughter, Maud Burnett Downs inherited it at some point. And it's from the Downs family that donated the land for the large park on Flying Point. My guess by the time she received the property, she sold it. So it was sold in 1966 to a Mary Ann Bolton, who proceeded, actually David was involved in some of those subdivision processes. It was a 2-lot subdivision in 1986, but actually there was a 21-acre property to the rear. And if you scroll down, I guess I put the subdivision maps in the report. A 21-acre property to the rear and some properties up toward the front. It's in the history section. But the larger properties on the road were eventually subdivided into smaller plots. And Mary Ann seemed to be buying and selling other properties in the Flying Point area, along with doing this when her married name was Polkek, Polacek, but she went back to her maiden name. Trying to think, after the property was sold, Mary Ann lived in this house from where she seemed to be doing 25 years or so of her real estate dealings. So there's some history, but when it comes to landmarking, we would actually need to do, if someone was at all interested in possibly landmarking the property, it might be questionable doing to the amount of alterations that already have occurred. We would have to do further research to see if there's any of the original structures left.
Yeah.
So at this point, did you have anything to add?
No, the
Do you-
architect
Okay.
is actually on,
Yeah.
if you'd like to say something.
Hi, good evening.
Good
Hi.
evening. Yeah.
Thank you, Susan. Good to see you again. Thank you for the comments on the application. It's great to hear, and glad we provided you with enough information. So yeah, I'm mostly here just to answer any questions, but also just kind of want to clarify. I know we left off on site with mention of some of the potential for existing windows, whether they're 1950s or the 1930s, and anything that was found that's predates, say, the 1960s renovations there. The question being, if we do find that what is the recommendation and how we proceed? And then is there any, I guess, sway that you have with the building department in terms of code issues for one, egress, and two, energy code issues?
Well, I would, the only point at which we have ever had a difference with the building department was involved with a designated landmark building that was under renovation, where originally the building department wanted to enlarge certain windows of the structure, a historic structure, which is also on the National Historic Register, and eventually they agreed not to provide that kind of code requirement for the renovation that took place.
Okay.
But
understood.
in the absence of any real historic recognition of the property, you know, it would not be something I think we would get involved with.
Right, okay, understood, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, you know, just going forward, but, yeah, absolutely, and as Susan mentioned, you know, what the application entails is maintaining, that westernmost existing gable structure that was the 1930 structure. We're trying to be extremely sensitive with regard to the existing materials and existing sizes of openings, and fenestration and trim. Now again, there is a component of the renovation of previous additions that have occurred from 1960s all the way through to 2000 for the eastern portion of what's the current principal structure, and then the addition of the glass structure that will house the dining and kitchen space. Again, as Susan mentioned, thank you, for, you know, reasons of mitigating impact from the right of way, the public right of way, we'll be shifting or proposing to shift the driveway, create a better entry point, one for the clients, but also, as I mentioned, to mitigate some of the view that you can see of the renovation. But again, we're really trying to maintain the character as much as possible of the principal structure, and anything that's the two-story structure, maintain it as true to, you know, existing and historic structure as possible, or traditional, I should say. So that's really the main point of my, you know, comments. And again, I'm here to answer any questions that you have on the application and clarify any items if required.
Well, one comment I have is thank you for the excellent product you presented in the application. It makes for at least a feeling among the board members that you're paying attention to the object that you're working with and of what remains of its historic character. And my other comment is to say sorry that you're not in the Bridgehampton Historic District.
Thanks.
Maybe we'll get you there one day.
Maybe. Yeah, make it tough.
Okay, anyway, any further questions for him? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
So, did you have anything, did I?
No, I thought it was a very good, well thought out proposed renovation and addition. Really, he's, I think, going out of his way to try and preserve the original, what's left of the original structure. Everything else, all those little add-ons, it's a good thing they're going away. I think it'll enhance the appearance. And As the architect said, you won't see most of it from the street anyway, in terms of the glass addition, which I think is a very good solution to what the family needs in terms of expansion, and not trying to replicate something or make it look, old, when in fact it's not. It has a contemporary, it is contemporary for contemporary needs.
Right.
Consistent with Secretary of Interior standards.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm very much in favor of it.
Okay. Susan, do you want
Yeah,
to do the response?
Exactly, and I would say, of course, no objection, but just, recommend adaptive reuse of materials if that door is original, if they find anything,
Right.
or donate. So that would be my recommendation.
Right. But also just make a comment about the
Excellent.
excellent presentation.
Yes, I will do that. I will make sure that I make note of that, because it really was outstanding, so,
Okay, well.
thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Right. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
We can then proceed to the issue of the construction at 61 Halsey Lane was for an inconsequential garage apartment renovation that it was determined did not need full assessment.
I think it was built in 2000.
Yeah.
I mean, it was built around 2000, so it,
Yeah.
amongst other, plus the work was already done.
All right. Okay, certificate of appropriateness, 2385. We all recall this, I believe, from last meeting. And we received updated details of the sign. It's to be shrunken down to the 21 square foot normative in the code facade sign for the building, whereas it was about 5 square feet in the original proposal. The alignment is supposed to be redone. Let's see, this is the simulation that was redone to show it moved away from the adjoining building and centered over the entry door and first floor window of this particular store unit there. This design has a little bit of a different feel to it because the window alignments aren't perfect in the building with the door as well. I did prepare a resolution for that. Did you all get the resolution? And let me see if I can find the resolution in the sets of files I have here. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Ah, yes, okay. So, we had, an overly sensitive touchpad here. So let me read the resolution for 2385. Whereas Landmarks and Historic Districts Board received an application dated January 30th, 2024 for a required certificate of appropriateness for a change in the exterior appearance with a new sign at 2385 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton, a non-contributing resource of the Bull's Head and Main Street Historic District. And whereas the Landmarks and Historic Districts Board reviewed the plans for the new signage containing the text Edward Jones Investments on the facade of the commercial structure at 2385 Montauk Highway at its February 20th, 24 meeting. And whereas subsequent revisions proposed by the applicant under the design of architectural design of Yaphank, New York, dated February 26, 2024 for building department review, provide for a sign, one with text in white with mixed typefaces of Edward Jones Investments on black background, 2 that is unlit, 3 reduced in size to 3 foot by 7 foot, and 4 with alignment centered over the reference span of the entry door and ground floor window of the store. Resolved, the Landmarks and Historic Districts Board finds the application for the sign as revised suitable for installation at 2385 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton, is consistent with the historic character of the district, and approves the issuance of a COA for the sign features identified above. Does that contain
Yeah, so,
what we want? Do I have a motion for it?
Motion.
Motion by Vicky. Second?
second.
Second by Stephanie. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Is Martha still online?
Don't think so.
Was she able
It's
to
our
count?
vote.
Yes, you can count. She's-
I hear nothing, so we will list her as an abstention.
She's not on the Zoom anymore.
Okay. We'll list her as absent. All right, so that's done. We also have a leftover from our last meeting with respect to 97 School Street, and got a request for an expedited approval from Land Management there was a sense that there would have been an earlier, I guess, certificate of appropriateness application, but it came on March 8th. And this is a resolution to record the approval process that we followed, in which members provided approval by email. Whereas the Landmarks and Historic Districts Board reviewed the plans for proposed installation of solar generating panels on the roof of the commercial structure at 97 School Street at its February 2024 meeting as a result of a referral from the Planning Board. And whereas a request from Land Management was made for expediting review for an application dated March 8, 2024 for a required certificate of appropriateness based upon the February 2024 review by the Landmarks and Historic Districts Board. And whereas Landmarks and Historic District Board members Davis, Hine, Roberts, Gibbons, Ganettis, Wisnowski gave expedited approval by email for the issuance of the certificate of appropriateness for the installation of the solar generating panels at 97 School Street, Bridgehampton, now therefore be it resolved, this resolution of record acknowledges the Landmarks Board action for said COA and is to be entered into the minutes of the March 19th, 2024 LHDB meeting. And I would move its adoption.
Second?
And we have it second from Tim. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carried, resolution carried. We've finished with 2330.
I'm gonna ask, well, at some point, were we gonna discuss the process, or that's?
That stuff is in works.
Right.
They're kind of working through an administrative.
Yep, we'll be preparing some,
Okay. I mean,
procedures.
And just for the record, I agreed with your comments on.
Somebody's calling on the telephone.
Say nobody's home.
Once they get in the front door,
What's that?
just answer it.
Oh. Hello? Yes, we are, yes. Hi, David. Uh-huh.
Do you ever watch Deal or No Deal? Did you ever watch when the banker calls?
Well, not at this point in time. I think at the time, a certificate of appropriateness is filed. Okay, yes, that's. Okay. All right, good. I have to get back to my meeting here. Right. David Gilmartin. He found more pictures, so. Yeah. Okay. We have a referral from the planning board of the proposal for the Atlantic, for the Atlantic Golf Course housing. And I just probably, I don't know how much awareness people have. It's not something that I know a lot of people would, frequently travel by. But there is a couple things to, I think, note about it. One, this was previously referred to us, and we sent back a commentary that the plans seem to not take into account the view of Shorts Pond, which is north of on the north side of Scuttle Hole Road. And eventually, the planning board, I guess, required an easement to provide for a view shed. I don't know if that, I thought it was outlined in yellow here on one of the pages. Let's see if I can bring it up. Yes, there it is. It's very hard to identify the area, but this is the south boundary of the view shed. This is Scuttle Hole Road down here, and this is the north boundary of the view shed, and this is about where the pond is. And the easement requires them to mow and keep it basically clear landscape for the historic view of the pond. So I found this very encouraging that we're protecting views and people are taking our arguments about protecting historic views seriously, and My only little aggravation is not with the property of the Atlantic Golf Club, but rather the town of Southampton. On Scuttle Hole Road, there's about 50 feet of scrubby brush and trees that line the road that also kind of block the view, just to, you can't see it on this, but maybe it's on this one here. Yeah, as you go further down Scuttle Hole Road here, you get kind of a block view that comes from the town right of way that could be cleaned up if somebody wanted to do it, but maybe that's something to think about down the road. But I think we've got everything that is important here.
And I didn't get a chance, of course, to drive up there. Does that mean, is there a potato barn that's going to be lost in this? That one that's?
No,
No, okay.
there is a potato barn right on the road there. That used to belong to the farm, which was the Sarah Baldwin farm for many years. And that they use for storage of their landscaping equipment and other.
So where is this in relation to that?
This is east on an open parcel.
On the north
Let
side
me
of
see
it?
if I can bring it up on the overhead
North
here.
side of it.
1040 Scuttle Hole. Okay, so this is Scuttle Hole Road. Let me bring this up a little bit. This is Shorts Pond. This is heading east on Scuttle Hole Road. And this is the parcel where the housing would be situated.
Where was it proposed before? It was proposed closer to the pond, or is this the same?
Same location.
I think it was a little bit forward. I didn't compare it with the original there. But this is the area where, you know, on the town right of way I was talking about right here, that would give you an extra 2-second flash of Shorts Pond as you're driving by, you know. But in any case, when they put the building here, they will have to keep this area clear so that people driving and by. The other aspect of this is that there is a trail that will go from Scuttle Hole Road here, wind its way around the pond and go through the golf course property that there will be public access for. So my sense is compliment them for the easement on the view shed.
Yeah.
And we look forward to hearing about more possibilities like that. Okay. Stony Brook Southampton Windmill is a project that started up after our last meeting, I think. And Vicki, would you want to?
No, I'll defer to you.
Okay, well, anyway, there's a project in which the thought is that a possible landmark designation of the windmill would provide the opportunity for the use of community preservation funds for restoration of the windmill. If the State University of New York's Stony Brook administration would be interested in doing such thing. Assemblyman Fred Thiel has been trying to get legislative approval of such a process. I don't know where that stands, but the thought is that when Stony Brook, a Citizens Advisory Council for Stony Brook, meets in May at the Southampton campus, that this may be in hand, and it may be discussed as an open possibility and path for preservation of the windmill. So some preparation of the background on the windmill that would serve as the basis for recommendation to the town board for possible designation, should this plan make progress, was to be prepared, and Martha and Vicky have kind of agreed to kind of shepherd it a little bit along the way as this evolves. So, and Julie Green is going to work on this as a possibility too. So we'll see where that goes. We had a discussion on 126 South Country Road just before the meeting. There were some further details that needed to be kind of looked at for this recommendation for landmark designation that we would send to the town board, just trying to isolate the particular individuals associated with the property among the vast number of members of the Tuthill family that have been populating the whole area of Spionk and Remsenburg for generations. And so that will be a process to sort through too, going down the road. But it is actively underway. 11 Walnut Avenue and 149 South Country Road, I think they're just continuing, waiting for.
Yeah, actually, 149 South Country Road, an easement offer has been made. The owner is working with his attorney to flesh out the details of that and get that ironed out, and so that is proceeding. I haven't heard anything from the owner of 11 Walnut.
Okay. Oh, well, that's good to hear that
Yes, that
progress
there's
is
some
being
action.
made. Which connects us to a possibility of next month's meeting of having Jacqueline Fenlon from the Community Preservation Department come to chat with us about the process of historic easement associated with our landmarking activity. She would like to do, because it involves the potential of talking about different projects that are particularly significant and involve negotiations and so on. She asked that it be in an executive session, which I would propose that our meeting agenda be executive session from 7 p.m. to 7:30, and that our open regular business be from 7:30 on, so that we can, if that sounds okay with everybody? Okay. So that's one way of trying to manage the business.
Ed, would that be the appropriate time? I know there's some changes with the Dick's Windmill, but maybe wait till next month. It's not pressing what's going on with that in CPF. I think it's...
Yeah, well, I don't know what the, I know that there was some transfer of ownership interests involved.
Right, I read it, but I wouldn't try to even explain it verbally because I'm not sure the details.
Okay,
Maybe we could
yeah.
find out next month.
Oh, okay. Let's see, we have, the Landmarks Maintenance Program. Thanks to Vicky, we got something, a press release
The press release, yes.
done, an announcement
Thanks to
made. Yeah, and did we get,
I haven't heard anything,
you haven't received any feedback or anything like that? Okay.
not a single call.
I think, was it the end of March that
Yes,
a deadline was for? So for eligible,
we've got a couple of weeks, so.
eligible, but they have to get their application and their act
Right.
together, yeah,
Right.
so. And thanks for getting it through the upper levels of the town bureaucracy, so.
They're very helpful.
Oh, good. Good. Let's see, I don't have anything else. Does anybody have any other
I
issues?
just have a quick, I'm just throwing this out. I do those lists every year. I was wondering if anybody wanted to volunteer, in a sense, maybe to take over the referrals and the COs. I can see that list. Right now, I'm about at my limit, and before the referrals, there were a couple from the planning board, a couple COs a year, and now we're having 2 to 3 per meeting, so that's, if somebody just wants to keep a running list of what referrals we
You mean,
are reviewing and what COs.
You're talking
I'll
about
throw that
the
out.
function of monitoring the business before the ZBA and the planning board that might be associated with historic properties.
Right, whatever we receive,
Yeah,
I just made a list of what we received and what we reviewed
Uh-huh.
and a possible like a 2 or 3 word outcome. It's the list that I sent out for 2023. Not that it needs to be done the way I did it, but I can just see that it's a whole separate thing from the construction and the demolition. But it's very positive
yeah.
work for the board, very.
Maybe when the agenda's being made, there's a separate document that you're just copying planning board or zoning board referrals?
Yeah, I can keep
As
a.
at-
Right,
like a
so there
running-
may be a
running
way
total?
just
Mhm.
right, so there may be a way just to generate a list.
The time to generate it would be the time the agendas are made.
So, I mean, I go back, if I don't get it done month by month, which I don't always get it done the month, I go back and I look at the agendas and I look at the minutes. And between those two, because every now and again, the agendas are 99% accurate, but there might be, so if you double check with the minutes, you'd see if something got added.
So you're looking for the referrals and the COAs to be covered?
Yeah, so it'd be, yeah,
Just
whatever.
those two, okay. I'll see what I can do, should be
Wow,
relatively,
thank you.
I mean, once the agenda's
So
done,
it's that
just
one
copying and
separate
pasting.
section that I did, so great.
Just copying
Thank
and
you.
pasting.
So, anybody else with any, do you have anything to throw onto the table
I
here?
won't be here next month.
Okay. So if there is nothing else, let's see, one other possible piece of business is that there is an interest in getting a designation for a house on Major's Path that is built 1883 and is in dire need of attention, and the owner is interested in getting the possibility of designation in order to receive a historic easement in order to restore the property, and that discussion will probably go on for a couple of weeks.
Whoever's writing the history, I may have some research on that. I think I may have done that for somebody, it's the one up near the Writing Academy.
Right, yes, that's
that-
that's the
can't think of
property
the ad-
associated with it, yes.
259, no, I'm not sure.
259,
Is it?
it is, yes, it is.
How do I remember that? But anyways, I think I have somebody that asked me a question about it. So I'll send it on to you right now and,
Okay, that's fine. Actually, the person who owns it is not living there at the moment, but has a good grasp of the architectural character inside. He was originally under the impression that the house was built in the 1860s, but there were certain anomalies in the materials and construction that
I
didn't
haven't
add
seen
up.
it except from the road.
Yeah.
But it's more
So-
the maps and the owners
Right.
versus South Central.
Well, I've traced the ownership back from about 1750 up to
Oh, and then you're farther probably along.
1900.
I'll send you
so-
what I have anyway, and you can use it or not.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, that's just alert, that's something associated with that property on Major's path will be coming down.
It's near the beginning, near the village, close to the village.
It's not too far up, yeah, it's not too far.
It's near the riding, the
Yeah,
old
it's right, it's
academy,
on
the stables.
the right side go.
It's before it
north.
though, like if you were coming up,
Yeah.
it's,
It faces south.
It faces south.
it faces
yeah,
south, it doesn't
yes.
face the road.
Right.
Yes, what is the story with that house? It's always looked like it was on the verge of falling in and like,
It was neglected for a period of time. There was complicated elements of the family ownership issues that were involved in it, and those complications appear to be settled.
Settled.
And so
Good.
the owner in charge is interested in restoring the house, and it does look very impressive.
I would have never guessed 1883 for that house either.
Yeah. What would you have thought? Or
I would have thought more older.
older? Yeah. Yeah, it was, the house was built by a New York City contractor who provided the stones for the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. Yeah, his name was Babcock. And he built the house and died a year later.
Oh,
So, but there was an earlier farmhouse there of a number of farmers that existed. One was from the North Fork. I forget Benjamin something, but before that there was an owner named Hewlett Reeves, who had that as an earlier farm, and he got it from a Jagger, and a Jagger got it from a Foster. So,
I think that's,
yeah, you're going back to the early land grant episodes of that piece of property up there. But anyway, it's still to be detailed and fleshed out with more information. Anything further? If not, this meeting is adjourned, and thank you.